Hi, and welcome to another edition of Central Conversations. This is one of our elements during this shelter at home period that we are in, designed to help keep us connected one with another. If you're part of the Central family, you know that we talk a great deal about being connected to God, connected to one another, and connected to our purpose in life. So, these conversations during this unique period in our lives, we believe, will contribute much to us connecting in all three of those ways. This afternoon, I'm really excited to have as my guest Sylvia Lee. Sylvia has been part of Central Assembly for quite some time, and I'm glad that she's here today, along with her friend Huckleberry, that I really wanted you to meet. Hi, Sylvia. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Don. How are you?
I'm fine. How is Huckleberry doing?
She's weathering this pretty well, I think.
We probably need to explain right up front, although it's another story for another day. This is Miss Huckleberry. That may seem to be a little bit odd to you, but that is another story for another day that Sylvia can tell you sometime on her own. Well, Sylvia, take a moment and give us a couple of elements of introduction as to who you are and what your life is about.
Well, I have lived in Springfield most of my life, but I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. And following my high school graduation, I went to Eastern Bible Institute, which is now the University of Valley Forge, and I got my diploma in Bible and theology. Some years later, I went back to school at Evangel and got my BA in communication with a concentration on journalism. I worked at the national office for 36 years, and 34 of those years were in the Sunday school department. And if I might, I'd like to just say a couple of more things about that.
Sure.
Going to work in the Sunday school department for me was kind of like closing the circle, because just recently I celebrated the 71st anniversary of the first time I went to a Assemblies of God Sunday school.
Wow.
We had just moved to a new community, and we were moving in on a Saturday, early April, and the kids from across the street came over and asked if I could go to Sunday school with them. And it happened to be a Assemblies of God church. And so I've been going to Assemblies of God Sunday school ever since. My mother and father did not go to church for a number of years. My mother was a little bit skeptical of Pentecostals, and my dad was battling alcoholism. But both of them, through the outreach of the Sunday school classes, started going to church. And my dad got saved, delivered totally from alcoholism. And he and I were baptized at the same time in the Susquehanna River when I was about 12 years old.
Wow.
So when I got to work at the Sunday school department, I felt like I was kind of paying back tremendous debt that I owed them for all that they had meant to my family. I've always been single, so I have no immediate family, but I do have a very large extended family. And I'm down now to about the third, fourth generations of great nephews and nieces.
I think that's probably one of the important things that we can hear from you in these few moments. The fact that you do live alone, notwithstanding Huckleberry, of course. We'll talk about her in a moment. But that means that you are sequestered in your home alone at this time as well. So we do want to talk about that for a few moments. You represent a rather significant number of single men and women in our congregation who are going through this experience by themselves, and we do want to talk about that. But first of all, tell me a little bit more about Huckleberry. How long has she been in your life?
14 years.
Wow.
She's getting to be a grand old lady.
So who is the boss in your home, you or Huckleberry?
Oh, there's no question. There's no question. I serve at her command.
I'm sure you try to tell her otherwise.
Well, someone gave me a little plaque one time that said, "Dogs have owners, cats have staff."
I see. That's pretty clear that that's what's going on in your life. But I'm sure that it's important to have her around.
It is. Anyone who's owned a pet, and I should use that word owned loosely, knows that they do play an important part in our role of health and just companionship and just having a sense of there's somebody else breathing in the house besides myself. And she's kind of not the stereotypical cat. People think cats are aloof. She's not. She's never met a stranger, and she's very friendly, and so she's very companionable. Wherever I am, she is.
Okay, true confession. Do you carry on conversations with her?
Yes.
I thought I knew the answer to that already. She's a cute kitty and very friendly the times that I have had an opportunity to meet her. Sylvia, the truth is, another chapter to your story is the fact that this shelter at home period that we're in is not by far not the first adjustment you've made to being alone. In fact, for the last several months, you've been getting accustomed to a new normal with the fact that sweet Dr. Billy Davis of our congregation was called into the presence of the Lord a few months ago, and you had been her long-term 24/7 companion and caregiver. And so we've walked with you these last few months as you have been facing that adjustment of living alone again. And then this chapter is added to that now. Talk to us a little bit about that if you can.
Yes, Billy left us for heaven on August the 3rd, and undoubtedly this was the most difficult loss I have ever experienced in my life because we were so close. We had been friends for many years before she came to make her home with me, and after George passed away in 2008. And so I had a little over 11 years of her company and her wisdom and her wit and all those things that I enjoyed so much about her. And helping her gave me a sense of purpose. I had been retired for several years when she came, and it was just a new focus of life to suddenly have somebody there that I could help and be of a blessing to her. And all of a sudden now that was gone. And even though helping her was as real calling as I've ever felt, I just had this sense of great loss. And then I started the process of grieving. I went to the grief share class, which was very helpful. I was having lunch with friends frequently, and for years I had held season tickets to the Lady Bears basketball games, and I went back to the games. I did my exercise classes again, road trips, all those things that were very vital steps in the grieving process to help me to recover and to heal. And then suddenly it stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And so although solitude was not a felt need, it was here.
And this time accompanied as it is by rather severe restrictions favoring inactivity. Is that a challenge for you? And under these circumstances, which you really can't control, how do you cope with that? How do you respond to being limited in the activities that we know you like very much?
Well, my default position was to just read and watch TV and probably spend too much time on social media. And a few weeks ago, I realized that this was not doing me any good physically, to say nothing of my mental and spiritual health. And so I said, I need to make some changes. And one of the first things I did was get back in the kitchen. I had cooked most of our meals here at the house, and Billy was fun to cook for because she was very adventurous in her eating and had a good appetite. But after she passed, I didn't feel like I wanted to cook for myself. So I'd wait till I got hungry and then go to the nearest drive-thru. And that coupled with not being as physically active as I should be, I felt like I was beginning to suffer for that. So one of the first things I did was start saying, I need to start cooking again. I need to be careful about my diet. And I'm blessed to have a good friend. Billy and I met her a number of years ago when we were going to the fitness center at Mercy Hospital. And we have maintained a friendship, got together for lunch a couple times a month. And she's always asking me, how are you doing on your exercise? How are you doing on your eating? So she's my accountability partner. And so I have found some good exercise programs that are on YouTube. They're suitable for people of my age. And although it's more fun to be with a group, I can do them in my home, and I am. And then the other thing, this same person, we took a walk one day in the park back before this was so restrictive. And she was telling me a little about how things were going with her job and with her husband's work. And she finally just turned to me and said, tell me something positive. And my first thought was to go to Philippians 4, where Paul says, whatever is true and good and so forth, to think on these things. And so she says that to me frequently now. Tell me something positive. So it kind of keeps me on my toes to be looking for something positive that I can share with her, and then also to help myself. And Pastor Jim, pardon?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Pastor Jim, some time back, challenged us to take responsibility for our own spiritual development and growth. And I think this is an ideal time to do that, because we don't have the support of joining together with the community, and the focus can very much be between ourselves and God.
That's wonderful. I know you're part of our Sunday school class, and you were actually the first person in the class to volunteer to reach out and touch people via telephone during this season as a means of staying connected. Have you enjoyed that?
I have. And most often they say, we have everything we need. Our kids are looking after us, and so on and so forth, but they do want to talk. And so I think conversation, even if they have someone else in the house, maybe just a different voice and a different person to speak with, I think that seems to be the felt need for that.
That's awesome. Well, Sylvia, this is your one occasion to take the stage, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to just say something that you think would be encouraging or helpful to the people of our congregation, and in fact, anyone that might be isolated, that might be listening. What would be your recommendation or your counsel or your wisdom to them during this period?
Well, I would first of all say reach out. I know the church is making contact, but don't wait for someone to call you. Think of somebody that you might call and reach out, whether it's to friends or family. It's important to stay in touch. And social media gets a bad rap, which it's justly deserved at times, but it is a wonderful means, if we have access to it, to stay in touch quickly and get immediate feedback through texting and on Facebook and so forth. And to just get back to what I said earlier, eat well.
Yeah.
It's not a time to just search the cabinets for the quickest meal you can make, but pamper yourself a little bit. Take care of yourself and keep moving. My goal is to come out of this time stronger spiritually, relationally, and physically.
Those are awesome words, that not only for people that are isolated, but for all of us. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Before we go, I'd like to pray with you if I can, and at the same time for both of us to extend our prayer to others who might be listening today and watching that are also isolated, and pray God's blessings on them as well. Would you join me, please? Father, we thank you today. We thank you that during this season when we may be alone within the four walls of our home, you never leave us and you never forsake us. You've promised to always abide with us, and we thank you for that. Thank you for Sylvia. Thank you for the rich lessons that you have taught her, that she has received, and that she's willing to share with others. I pray your blessings upon her life. Lord, be with her each and every day. Lord, keep her safe. Keep her under your care. Keep her well and free from disease or anything of that nature. Lord, help us all to walk through this. And as she has stated as her goals for this, to come out stronger in every facet of our life. And we reach out now to the significant portion of our congregation that are isolated alone. They live alone, and so they're going through this process perhaps alone as well. Lord, would you be their comfort? Would you be their stay? Would you be their constant companion? We ask you to be their encouragement. We ask you to be their joy, dear Lord. Give them new energy, new grace, and new strength today. And the promise that we know we have, that we will come through this whole in Jesus' name and for his glory. Amen.
Amen.
Sylvia, it's been great visiting with you. Appreciate you so very much. You take care of Huckleberry, or let Huckleberry take care of you.
We'll do that.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Conversations at Central.